So this is a cluster analysis file. Basically, this file creates heat maps by using the labels that we extract from the centroids. So as you can see here, we're basically retrieving all the data points or like data of the centroids, and then we're conglomerating them to this all centroids sort of table. And what does it sort of lists all the like the most important labels per for each centroid for each cluster, and then we get the unique values from each attribute of all the centroids from all the years. And then what we do is that we use bouquet. Well, actually, it's a hollow view that sort of extends bouquet, and we use that to create a lot of heat maps uh, in order to sort of understand the clusters. And the reason why we do this is because the Python package that we use is sort of underdeveloped, and it doesn't provide sort of meaningful visualizations at all for the clusters it makes. So we decided that we would extract the attributes created by the clusters and the centroids, and then sort of examine those attributes because we deem those to be like very important. And so what you can see here, it has labels where you can sort of hover over to see specific information, and then you can also save it, reset it, zoom in, and another attribute is a slider. So you can basically see like data over years, and these are linked together, these two heat maps. The difference between these two heat maps is the following. This one does sort of shows the frequency of a specific crime in a specific district for that year, while this is the frequency of that crime across all years. So the reason why we did this side-by-side comparison was that we could understand if like certain patterns was representative of the entire year, or if it was for the specific year. And we created this for sort of each attribute. So one for description, one for location description, one for month, hour, day, and weekday. So there were some like interesting patterns that we saw, particularly over here. We saw that $500 and under crimes and over $500 crimes are sort of really divided, and at one point they do lighten up, but you do see sort of a small division within these two rows, and then over time they really lighten up. However, they sort of resurge back, and then you see another clear division between those two rows. So we sort of found that fascinating and decided to pinpoint on those problems. However, we did realize that our data set was pretty big. So we also looked at the location description heat maps, which basically denoted to us that while there were all these like 3 other different labels, these 4 different labels were really the most important. So when we create our like map plot later on, we only use the 4 labels in order to subset the data. And there are actually some interesting patterns that happen like over a month. For example, you see over here that there's this white gap. However, we couldn't really make sense of it or explore it that well because of a lack of domain expertise. So we decided to sort of set that aside and just focus on the difference between the crimes of $500 and under and over $500.